Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girbhardhari. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Radhe Nate Radha Radhe Nate Radhe. Jaya Radha Radhe Nate Radha Radhe Nate Radhe. Jaya Gaurani Thai, Gaurani Thai, Gaurani Thai, Jaya Gaurani Thai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for being here. And please bless me that I may be able to say something that will be of benefit to you and of purification to me. So we'll start with some prayers and then the reading of chapter 42 of Krishna book. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachadi Satarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this chapter begins with Krishna and Balaram meeting the hunchback Kubja or Trivakra while walking through the streets of Mathura. So I'll start reading. After leaving the florist's place, Krishna and Balaram saw a hunchback young woman carrying a dish of sandalwood pulp through the streets. Since Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, he wanted to make all his companions joyous by cutting a joke with the hunchback woman. Krishna addressed her, "O tall young woman, who are you? Tell me, for whom are you carrying the sandalwood pulp in your hand? I think you should offer the sandalwood to me, and if you do so, I am sure you'll be fortunate." Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knew everything about the hunchback. By his inquiry, he indicated that there was no use in serving a demon. She would do better to serve Krishna and Balaram and get an immediate result of the service. So, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam on this chapter that Kubja, the hunchback, was actually a partial expansion of the Lord's wife, Satyabhama. So Satyabhama is the Lord's internal energy known as Bhu-Shakti. And this expansion of hers, known as Prithvi, represents the earth. So this expansion, which represents the earth, was bent down by the burden of countless wicked rulers. And we know that Krishna descends to remove wicked rulers. And so his pastime of straightening her back, which will happen later on, actually represents his rectifying the condition of the earth. But I also look at, what message does, whenever I read about Krishna, firstly, I like to find out about his personality and his qualities that are shown through every one of his pastimes. And so that's how I also looked at this chapter. We're always searching for Krishna. And also what message, the chapter has for us. And so to me, Kubja also, in a way, represents us, who are bent down by the weight of our material desires. We are hunched back ourselves, limited in all our capacities, because we have been serving the wrong master all this while. And here when Krishna says, he invites her, tells her there's no use in serving a demon. Better serve me, offer it to me, and you will be fortunate. I think that is also an invitation to us. Krishna asking us to serve him. And get and become immediately auspicious. So, another wonderful thing about this, the path that we've read, is Krishna's jokey, playful nature. Prabhupada always uses the term cutting a joke. And Krishna wanted to make his friends joyful, so he referred to Kubja as, oh, tall one. Because, he's always bringing playfulness. The Nectar of Devotion describes his personality as Dhira Lalita, someone who is naturally funny, who is expert in joking, and free from all anxieties. So it's always enlivening to see this quality, I think. Carry on reading. The woman replied to Krishna, "My dear Shyamasundar, dear beautiful dark boy, you may know that I am engaged as a maidservant of Kamsa. I am supplying him pulp of sandalwood daily. The king is very much pleased with me for supplying this nice thing. But now I see that there is no one who can better be served by this pulp of sandalwood than you two brothers." So Kubja could immediately see what was auspicious for her. Sometimes we take really long. The pure devotee offers us service and we may vacillate for a few decades, sometimes even a few lifetimes. But here, Kubja was fortunate. She could immediately see who her real master was. Carry on. Being captivated by the beautiful features of Krishna and Balaram, their talking, their smiling, their glancing, and their other activities, the hunchback woman began to smear all the pulp of sandalwood over their bodies with great satisfaction and devotion. The two transcendental brothers, Krishna and Balaram, were naturally beautiful and had beautiful complexions, and they were nicely dressed in colorful garments. The upper portions of their bodies were already very attractive, and when the hunchback woman smeared their bodies with sandalwood pulp, they looked even more beautiful. So here, just to appreciate the beauty and how she became captivated by their beautiful features, it is described in the Nectar of Devotion that all of us, actually, if we really come to know Krishna, we will be captivated, because he's described firstly as a pleasing talker. And it's stated in Nectar of Devotion that his words are so attractive they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. And they can solve all the problems and questions of the world. And it's stated that every word contains volumes of meaning and are very pleasing to the heart. And I also did a little bit of research on his smile, and I was listening to a class by His Holiness Amrtavani Maharaj, where he speaks about the amazing impact of Krishna's smile and how Krishna uses the smile, because his smile has a hypnotic effect. And Krishna uses it when he wants to steal butter from the older gopis, or even to just to dissipate his mother's anger, to avoid chastisement by her. He just smiles. And everybody gets hypnotized, They are immediately under his control. And in the Dimna Maharaj actually analyzes his smile in various ways. He was describing there's 6 different varieties of smiling, all of which stimulate ecstatic love for him. And he said that Krishna's devotees respond to his smile in different ways, according to the depth of love they have for him. Like his servants relish his smile as a reward for their services. His parents see his smile as a sign of his well-being. His friends as confirmation of their intimacy, and his lovers as fuel for their loving desires. So everybody responds to his smile in different ways. And in the CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita 1744, Lord Chaitanya says, Krishna's camphor-like smile also mixes with his pleasing speech to produce a mysterious, deeply meaningful sound that awakens all kinds of divine mellows in the hearts of those who hear it. So here now we have Kubja saying his smile, his talking, his beautiful bodily features, and she was obviously captivated, and hers was in a conjugal mood. So to carry on reading. Krishna was very much pleased by this service, and he began to consider how to reward her. What a beautiful lesson for all of us, that when the Lord is pleased, he starts thinking about how to please us, even with our meager services. In other words, in order to draw the attention of the Lord, the Krishna conscious devotee has to serve him in great love and devotion. Krishna cannot be pleased by any action other than transcendental loving service unto him. Thinking like this, Lord Krishna pressed the feet of the hunchback woman with his toes, and capturing her cheeks with his fingers, gave her a jerk in order to make her straight. At once the hunchback woman became a beautiful straight girl with broad hips, thin waist, and very nice, well-shaped breasts. Since Krishna was pleased with the service of the hunchback woman, and since she was touched by Krishna's hands, she became the most beautiful girl among women. I think this is so wonderful, and how personally Krishna reciprocated with her. I mean, it would be easy if he wanted to just remove a hunchback, to just sort of click his fingers, and then that would be done. But the fact that he stepped on her toes, captured her cheek with his fingers, imagine the intimacy and the closeness, and then gave her a jerk to straighten her up. That was so personal. And I think this is a wonderful message for all of us too, that if we please Krishna, and it's always our aspiration to do so, that he can deal with us in a very personal way. With each person he will deal with differently, of course, but his dealings are so personal. And Prabhupada continues, this incident shows that by serving Krishna, the devotee immediately becomes elevated to the most exalted position in all respects. Devotional service is so potent that anyone who takes to it becomes qualified with all godly qualities. How wonderful. Krishna was attracted to the hunchback woman not for her beauty, but for her service. As soon as she rendered service, she immediately became the most beautiful woman. A Krishna-conscious person does not have to be qualified or beautiful. After becoming Krishna-conscious and rendering service unto Krishna, he becomes very much qualified and beautiful. So I think, this statement is very encouraging to me, and I think to all of us, that actually we don't have to be qualified or anything. We just have to become Krishna-conscious and render service unto him. And Srila Prabhupada gave us the opportunity to become Krishna conscious. As soon as we entered the movement, we became Krishna conscious. I mean, you cannot be in the movement and not think about Krishna at some point and not be conscious of him. So we just are in the movement and we render service, and then we become qualified. So that's such a wonderful, encouraging statement. Gives me great hope, because even I can serve, even with all my faults. And Srila Prabhupada has often stated that anyone who associates with Krishna will attain his qualities, will attain godly qualities, because we know we pick up from those we associate with. So the more we associate with Krishna, the more we will attain his qualities. And because Kubja was personally touched by Krishna, she immediately became beautiful, like Krishna. So service to Krishna is most powerful, almost magical. And we know from descriptions in Nectar of Devotion that devotional service is Sri Krishna Akashni, which means it attracts Krishna. And therefore, he reciprocates with so much of mercy. We'll carry on reading. When the woman was turned by Krishna's favor into an exquisitely beautiful young girl, she naturally felt very much obliged to Krishna, and she was also attracted by his beauty. Without hesitation, she caught the rear part of his cloth and began to pull it. She smiled flirtatiously and admitted that she was agitated by lusty desires. She forgot that she was in the street and before the elder brother of Krishna and his friends. She frankly proposed to Krishna, "My dear hero, I cannot leave you in this way. You must come to my place. I am already very much attracted to your beauty, so I must receive you well, and since you are the best among males, you must also be very kind upon me." In plain words, she proposed that Krishna come to her home and satisfy her lusty desires. Krishna, of course, felt a little bit embarrassed in front of his elder brother Balaram, but he knew that the girl was simple and attracted. Therefore, he simply smiled at her words. Looking towards his cowherd boyfriends, he replied to the girl, "My dear beautiful girl, I am very much pleased by your invitation, and I must come to your home after finishing my other business here. Such a beautiful girl as you are the only means of solace for persons like us, who are away from home and not married. Certainly, a suitable girlfriend like you can give us relief from all kinds of mental agitation." So you can see even here, Krishna satisfied her with sweet words. Leaving her there, he proceeded down the street of the marketplace, where the citizens were prepared to receive him with various kinds of preparations, especially betel nuts, flowers, and sandalwood pulp. The mercantile men in the market worshipped Krishna and Balaram with great respect. When Krishna was passing through the street, all the women in the surrounding houses came to see him, and some of the younger ones almost fainted, being captivated by his beauty. Their hair and tight clothing loosened, and they forgot where they were standing. So, in the presence of Krishna, in the physical presence, people forget themselves, being so captivated, being so moved, as was stated earlier, by the mellows in their heart, and they respond. And we can only pray that we also, at some point, in the presence of Krishna, because Krishna is actually here in his deity form, even though he's not physically present to us as we would know a normal human being would be. But he is actually present in his deity form. And we are waiting and praying for the day when we will lose ourselves, forget ourselves, and react with so much emotion just at the sight of him. Krishna next inquired from the citizens as to the location of the place of sacrifice. Kamsa had arranged for the sacrifice called Dhanur Yagya, and to designate this particular sacrifice, Shri Shri Radha Radhana Ki Jai, Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. To designate this particular sacrifice, he had placed a big bow near the sacrificial altar. The bow was very big and wonderful and resembled a rainbow in the sky. Within the sacrificial arena, this bow was protected by many constables and watchmen engaged by King Kamsa. So Kamsa had arranged for the sacrifice, and it is said that the Dhanur Yagya is actually a huge sacrifice intended to bring blessings of protection and safety from enemies and from death. And at the end of this yagya, Lord Shiva himself appears to protect the performer of this yagya. However, we can see what Krishna does when he comes to the yagya. As Krishna and Balaram approached the bow, they were warned not to go nearer. But Krishna ignored this warning. He forcibly went up and immediately took the big bow in his left hand. After stringing the bow in the presence of the crowd, he drew it and broke it in the middle into two parts, exactly as an elephant breaks sugarcane in the field. Everyone present appreciated Krishna's power. So Krishna, again with his left hand, our left hands are normally our weaker hands, but he just showed, even with his left hand, he could just string the bow, break it like an elephant breaks sugarcane. You know, it's so effortless for an elephant walking through a sugarcane field. They just trample it so effortlessly. And in the same way, it was so effortless for Krishna because obviously we know he's the source of all power. The sound of the bow cracking filled both sky and land and was heard by Kamsa. When Kamsa heard what had happened, he began to fear for his life. The caretakers of the bow, who were standing by watching, became very angry, and with their respective weapons in hand, they rushed towards Krishna, shouting, "Arrest him! Arrest him! Kill him! Kill him!" Krishna and Balaram were surrounded. When they understood the sinister motives of the god, they became angry, and taking up the two pieces of the broken bow, they began to beat down all of Kamsa's caretakers. While this turmoil was going on, Kamsa sent a small group of troops to assist the caretakers, but Krishna and Balaram fought with them also and killed them. Of course, this is an outcome we would expect, right? After this, Krishna did not proceed further into the sacrificial arena, but went out the gate and proceeded toward the resting camp. Along the way, he visited various places in Mathura city with great delight. Seeing the activities and wonderful prowess of Krishna, all the citizens of Mathura began to consider the two brothers to be demigods who had come down to Mathura, and they all looked upon them with great astonishment. The two brothers strolled carefree in the street, not caring for the law and order of Kamsa. So we can imagine what a wonderful sight they were as they walked down the street. And people were astonished. It was like, who are these demigods that have come down? And Krishna and Balaram were unaffected. They say here they were walking with delight and strolling carefree. So I like the fact that Krishna's nature is also described as happy and filled with delight. One of the qualities described in Nectar of Devotion is that Krishna is happy, and that is, he is joyful and untouched by any distress. It is stated in the Nectar of Devotion, not even a slight smell of distress can touch Krishna. He knows no loss. He knows no defamation. He has no fear. He has no anxiety, and he does not know calamity. So he has just fought and killed all these gods, broken the bow, but he is totally unaffected, totally blissful. So why would we not want to keep really close to this blissful personality and get the quality of happiness? Because I think in the Nectar of Devotion, it's also stated that devotional service brings bliss to anyone who performs devotional service. As sunset approached, Krishna, Balaram, and their cowherd boyfriends went to the outskirts of the city, where all their carts were assembled. Thus Krishna and Balaram gave some preliminary hints of their arrival to Kamsa, and he could understand what severe type of danger was awaiting him the next day in the sacrificial arena. So he had planned the sacrifice to protect from danger, but he could understand now, wow, there's going to be something to encounter the next day during the sacrifice. When Krishna and Balaram had been going from Vrindavan to Mathura, the inhabitants of Vrindavan had imagined the great fortune of the citizens of Mathura in being able to see the wonderful beauty of Krishna, who is worshipped by his pure devotees as well as the goddess of fortune. The fantasies of the residents of Vrindavan were now actually realized, for the citizens of Mathura became fully satisfied by seeing Krishna. So we know that the residents of Vrindavan are always thinking about Krishna. And even when he's not with them, they will be imagining, oh my goodness, what wonderful fortune the others would have by seeing his beauty. And so they were fantasizing. He was not with them, but they were fantasizing about him, thinking, such good fortune the residents of Mathura would have. And this was being realized. The residents of Mathura were being so fortunate, and their lives had become auspicious just by seeing Krishna. When Krishna returned to his camp, he was taken care of by servants who washed his lotus feet, gave him a nice seat, and offered him milk and palatable dishes. After taking supper and thinking of the next day's program, he very peacefully took rest. Thus he passed the night there. As servants, we always feel so fortunate if we can wash the feet of the pure devotees. And this is how Krishna, of course, his servants were washing his feet, giving him a nice seat, offering him milk, eatables, because obviously they felt the joy, the complete happiness of serving him. On the other side, when Kamsa came to understand about the breaking of his wonderful bow and the killing of the caretakers and soldiers by Krishna, he could partially realize the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could realize that the eighth son of Devaki had appeared and that now his death was imminent. Thinking of his imminent death, he was restless the entire night. He began to have many inauspicious visions, and he could understand that Krishna and Balaram, who had approached the precincts of the city, were his messengers of death. Kamsa saw various kinds of inauspicious signs while both awake and dreaming. When he looked in the mirror, he could not see his head, although the head was actually present. He saw the luminaries in the sky in double, although there was only one set factually. He began to see holes in his shadow, and he heard a high buzzing sound within his ears. All the trees before him appeared to be made of gold, and he could see his own footprints in dust or muddy clay. In dreams, he saw various kinds of ghosts being carried in a carriage drawn by donkeys. He also dreamt that someone gave him poison, and he was drinking it. He dreamt also that he was going naked with a garland of flowers and was smearing oil all over his body. Thus, as Kamsa saw various signs of death while both awake and asleep and sleeping, he could understand that death was certain. And thus, in great anxiety, he could not rest that night. Just after the night had expired, he busily arranged for the wrestling match. So we can see that demons are always making arrangements for their protection against Krishna. But if Krishna wants something, who can stop it? The demons can pray to the most exalted personalities, to their gurus, to the demigods, but Krishna's will eventually reign supreme. The wrestling arena was nicely cleansed and decorated with flags, festoons, and flowers, and the match was announced by the beating of kettle drums. The platform appeared very beautiful due to streamers and flags. Different types of galleries were arranged for respectable persons, kings, brahmanas, and kshatriyas. The various kings had reserved thrones, and others had arranged seats also. Kamsa finally arrived, accompanied by various ministers and secretaries. and he sat on the raised platform especially meant for him. Unfortunately, although he was sitting in the center of all his governing executive heads, his heart was palpitating in fear of death. Cruel death evidently does not care even for a person as powerful as Kamsa. When death comes, it does not care for anyone's exalted position. So Krishna, everyone had arranged seats, there were thrones, and Kamsa sat on the highest platform, indicating his status actually, his power, that he was the ruler. But death does not care for how exalted or how powerful anyone is. It reminds me, when I was in school, I studied a poem called Death the Leveler. I think it was by John Donne. And it stated so clearly there that in death, we are all made equal. We become level. Whether we are rich or poor, whether we have all status, money, wealth, whatever we have, we are made equal. The richest is made equal to the poorest when death comes. There is no distinction. When everything was complete, the wrestlers who were to exhibit their skills before the assembly walked into the arena. They were decorated with nice ornaments and dress. Some of the famous wrestlers were Chanura, Mustik, Shala, Kuta, and Toshala. Being enlivened by the musical concert, they passed through with great alacrity. All the respectable cowherd men who came from Vrindavan, headed by Nanda, were also welcomed by Kamsa. After presenting Kamsa with the milk products they had brought with them, the cowherd men also took their respective seats by the side of the king on a platform especially meant for him. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 42nd chapter of Krishna, entitled The Breaking of the Bow in the Sacrificial Arena. And so, some important take-home points that I felt I should discuss at the end of this chapter. Regarding Kubja, some have questioned, whether her love for Krishna was similar to the gopis of Vrindavan, because they felt like she achieved almost the same result, in Krishna's reciprocation of her. And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says that her love was actually like the prema of the gopis, but not the same level of quality. He says, although it was passionate and conjugal, but the purity of intention was not there. Unlike the gopis, whose only desire was to please Krishna, she also had some personal desire as well. And so she is not regarded as being as pure and as selfless as the Vraja gopis. So because of that, Kubja doesn't quite exist within Vrindavan with the gopis, but is in Mathura with the women of that city. So although she was extremely blessed, still there is a higher experience to be had, which is had by the the gopis from Vrindavan, and especially Srimati Radharani. And there were some other points that I took home from this chapter, which I thought was so nice, that Krishna's nature is both human and superhuman. That like a human being, he would joke, he feels embarrassed in front of his elder brother, he has witty conversations, and therefore we can all identify with him. And we feel like he's one of us. But then he shows his supernatural power, like the way he straightens Kubja's back and the way he defeats the wrestlers. And then we feel, yes, here is God, whom we can have faith in and who is our protector. And this is the ongoing mix of his pastimes, where he simultaneously appears both human and superhuman. So very much like us, but very much also so exalted that we think, okay, here's God, and yes, we can surrender because he's so much above us, although he seems to be so much like us sometimes. And since we have some time, Um, Before I open up for questions and comments, I thought I'd read a point about service from the book Forever Present by His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami, because this chapter also deals with service, devotional service, and the impact of service and the mood of service. And this is what His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj stated in the book Forever Present. He says, "This is spiritual life. What will you do to awaken Krishna's love? Of course, Krishna's love is all-embracing. There is not one living being who is neglected, even the envious ones. Krishna even loves the snakes. But if you want to capture Krishna and say, 'Mamata, he is mine,' then you will have to conquer. For that, a devotee must become a kinkar, a personal attendant. The nectar of devotion describes the spirit of servitorship in two ways. One way is the general service attitude, and the other is to be the personal attendant. As a general servant, we can offer whatever we wish to Krishna, whatever is within the boundaries of the regulative principles. We can offer Krishna fruit or milk or juice. We can offer him so many things, but as a kinkar, as a personal attendant, we have to particularly offer Krishna what he needs at that moment. For example, in the Radha Raman temple in Vrindavan, in the winter, they offer hot khichdi because it's cold. So in this way, Krishna is offered exactly what he needs by the personal attendant. So this is our service attitude, to be kinkar, to be the personal attendant, and to serve Krishna as he needs, as he requires. Not that we only serve Krishna within the boundaries of what is permissible. It is that mood of trying to serve Krishna according to his need, according to the time, according to the place, according to the circumstance, that will conquer Krishna. The more we try to understand Krishna's desire, somehow my computer has stopped, but in any case it is, the more we try to understand his desire, the more we will become more sensitive, and we will be able to conquer Krishna. And so Maharaj's mood here was that we should try to serve Krishna in order to please him, not to please ourselves, but also to be very sensitive to what Krishna needs. And in that way, we will conquer Krishna. And he says that that is the goal of our life, and that is what we should aspire for. So I am happy to hear any comments that you may have, any reflections, any questions. We have, I think, 10 minutes more. And if you have no questions, please feel free to share anything that you particularly like about Krishna, any of his qualities that touch you, any of his pastimes that you particularly like and would show you something about Krishna. Because that's the purpose of our life, isn't it? To talk about Krishna and in some way purify ourselves. So if there are no questions, I'd like to end, and thank you so much for attending. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.